Everyone who loves horror stories believes that death is always near us. Are we just friends? Today, we're sitting here chatting, but tomorrow, one of us might be gone. We've probably heard stories like this often. This next story still lingers in the mind of a young office lady named Taan, who is currently single. She still vividly remembers the day she lost someone important in her life, a loss from which there's no return. Rewinding back to 5 years ago, it was a Friday. Taan's boyfriend, was a freelancer. They had been dating for about 10 years. That day was another day Taan was rushing to work. Taan admits that she's always been a late sleeper, a night owl who has never been able to fix this habit. No matter how many alarms she sets, she always hits snooze, stretching out her morning routine of showering and dressing until she's almost always late for work. Every day, would pick her up and drive her. "I have to drive so fast again." These were M's words after they'd barely left the house. Taan sighed, exasperated, as weaved through traffic to meet her demands. While driving, rarely talked, enduring Taan's constant stream of complaints. That particular day, she seemed especially irritable, criticizing everything in her path, including M's driving. Taan was furious, afraid of being late for work. An important client was already waiting for a meeting. She berated for not being aggressive enough, not overtaking the car in front. Calmly explained that overtaking was impossible due to the solid line and heavy traffic ahead. Taan continued her tirade, while remained silent, his face pained throughout the journey. They arrived at the office more than 10 minutes late. Taan slammed the car door at her anger still evident. Didn't say a word, driving away with hurt feelings. Taan watched the car go, a strange feeling of worry for suddenly arising. As the workday progressed, Taan's anxiety and concern for her boyfriend grew. Feeling guilty about her harsh words that morning, she decided to call him. "Where are you? Have you eaten yet?" she asked. There was a moment of silence, filled only with the sound of heavy breathing. "Taan, can you hear me?" she pressed. "I'm home. I made dinner," replied, his voice sounding slightly off. "Why don't you take a motorbike taxi home tonight? I'm not feeling very well." Taan agreed, thinking was still upset. At 8 p.m., a motorbike taxi dropped Taan off at her house. She was surprised to find the house dark. Hadn't turned on any lights. Then she realized the house was locked, and the key was with her. Must have forgotten it. How would he get in? There was only one key. A chill ran down her spine. She felt a sudden wave of goosebumps, though the air was strangely cool. Then she heard faint noises from inside, the dragging of feet, the clatter of dishes on the table, the clinking of silverware. Her first thought was that must be inside, but how was that possible? The house was locked. Are you home?" Taan shouted. "Answer me. Please be home." M's voice replied instantly, but not from inside the house. It seemed to come from somewhere else. Taan realized must have been so upset that he hadn't bothered to come back for the key. Taan unlocked the door. The house was still dark. She heard the shuffling sounds again, as if someone was pacing back and forth. She fumbled for the light switch. As the lights flickered on, she called out, "Where are you? Come out! I'm sorry about this morning. I won't do it again. Can you hear me?" There was no reply. Confused, Taan walked to the dining table and saw a plate of kaukluk kapi, her favorite dish, waiting for her. Tears welled up in her eyes. She took a few bites, but the food tasted bland, flavorless. It felt as if she were eating plain rice. She wondered if was upstairs, feeling unwell. She climbed the stairs to their bedroom. Was lying on the bed, facing away from her, looking genuinely sick. Taan embraced him immediately. "I'm sorry I was so harsh," she whispered. "I know," replied softly. Taan pulled away quickly, startled by the coldness of M's body. He felt like a corpse. As turned to face her, Taan gasped. His face was swollen and bruised, as if he'd been crying. She started to ask what was wrong, but didn't answer. Taan went downstairs, planning to order some takeout to appease him. Just then, M's brother Arm called. "Taan, where are you?" "I'm home. I just got off work," she replied. There was a pause. "Taan, be strong. M is gone. He was in a car accident." Taan's heart sank. She knew Arm wasn't the type to joke. He was serious about everything. How could this be? Was upstairs, had made dinner. Maybe Arm was playing a prank. Maybe was fed up with her behavior. Arm's voice, trembling, broke through her thoughts. He's at the hospital. I don't know why the paramedics called you, but you didn't answer. I'll just tell you this much. Taan felt dizzy, confused. What was real? After hanging up, she raced upstairs to the bedroom. M was gone. The bed was empty, the sheets neatly folded. How could this be? She had just seen him, talked to him. Her heart pounded. She scanned the room, and then out of the corner of her eye, she saw something in the corner, partially obscured by the open bathroom door. At first, she didn't realize it was M, but then she saw his feet and the blood staining the floor. Terrified, Taan slammed the bedroom door shut, her mind racing. Was M a ghost? She tried calling Arm again, but he didn't answer. Taking a deep breath, she pushed open the bedroom door. She screamed. Standing in the corner was M, his neck broken at an unnatural angle, blood covering his body. It was a horrific sight. Taan collapsed, screaming hysterically. Later, at the hospital, she learned that the paramedics had indeed tried to call her. She apologized for not answering, explaining about M being at home. Arm, initially skeptical, was shocked when Taan showed him her call log. They went to the morgue. Taan couldn't bear to look at M's mangled body. Just seeing his clothes was enough to make her break down, sobbing uncontrollably. "I'm so sorry, M. Please forgive me," she cried. M's family arrived to take his body for the funeral. They learned that M had died around 4 p.m., shortly after dropping Taan off at work. He was driving home on a different route, a main road. He had been involved in a head-on collision with a car making a U-turn. Both cars seemed to have been traveling at high speed. The other driver was seriously injured, while M died instantly. The paramedics told Taan that when they examined M's body before removing it from the wreckage, his face was wet with tears. It seemed he had been crying before the accident. Hearing this, Taan wept uncontrollably, consumed by guilt. M wasn't a fast driver, but he always rushed to get her to work on time. She blamed herself for his death, for making him drive so fast that day. He must have been so heartbroken and upset by her harsh words. After M's funeral, Taan returned to their empty house. She kept 2 pillows on the bed out of habit. Grief, longing, and guilt consumed her. The image of M's broken body, covered in blood, haunted her. Before going to bed that night, she prayed for M, hoping he would receive merit from her good deeds. As she was drifting off to sleep, she heard footsteps pacing back and forth. She froze, terrified. She was alone in the house. Who could it be? A burglar? A ghost? She hoped it was neither, but the footsteps stopped. The following nights were similar. Taan, working late every day, would hear strange noises, the smell of incense, the cracking of bones, as she climbed the stairs. The shuffling sounds returned, following her to her bedroom. She was convinced it was M's spirit. One night, Taan forgot to close the bathroom door. She watched in horror as it slowly swung shut and locked itself. She tried to be brave. "M, you're gone. Please don't scare me, I'm afraid. Please go to where you belong." The lights went out. A whisper brushed her ear. "I don't want to die. I want to stay with you." Taan screamed. The lights came back on. Terrified, Taan stayed at a friend's house for weeks, too afraid to return home. Months turned into years. After 3 or 4 years, the strange occurrences stopped. Taan wondered if M had finally moved on, been reborn. She wasn't sure. The constant feeling of his presence, the nightmares, the unexplained events, all vanished. Taan returned to a normal life, though she had no desire for another relationship. And that's the end of the story. If you liked it, please like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell to be alerted when new stories are uploaded.